Today is a good day to talk about the biggest problems with Galway, and you're thinking, why? Galway is cute. Galway is nice. It's islands, it just gives you, it is just a quintessential Irish experience when you go there. And then, you could use all the superlatives you want to describe that. But look at this. You've noticed the price? 300,900, and one goes up to 2 million. Wow. Exactly. That's the way it feels. And that is the reason why people don't like Galway. Galway feels like going to a fancy restaurant and then they bring out this bottle of wine and you taste it and you think this is the best wine I've ever had in my life. And then the bill comes and the wine is like 200 euros or pounds and you're like, I don't understand. You begrudgingly pay and now you hate that restaurant for whatever reason. Galway feels like that. Alright, don't get me wrong. Galway is nice. If you're coming from Dublin or you go to all these other places, Ireland is very small that you could drive to all these places without actually staying in Galway. And Galway isn't as big as you've got the seafront, you walk around and you've got the boats and they've got the houses and then you cross the bridge and there's this nice fountain and it's just nice. And then you keep going and you think, oh, hello. That's you, the Galway girl, and then I don't know if people actually have something where they rub the face or the nose or whatever. Anyway, you get the idea. Galway is cool. It says it's the Irish cultural epicenter. And, Irish language, friendliness, and live music. Yeah, that is true, actually. Even when you go on a rainy day, someone is always playing music somewhere on the main road of Galway. So, that's good. So, it's got that going for it. The problem people have with it is that it has become so expensive that people are thinking, it's a rip-off. Sometimes you see something expensive, it's expensive and you don't mind paying. I think everyone has that. But then when it feels like a rip-off, you're thinking, for what you get, it's just not worth it. And that is, those are some of the reasons why people are thinking, yeah, I'll just go there. I'm not even going to bother staying in a hotel in Galway because, well, it's just too expensive. I'll stay outside and then drive in. They've got quite a few parking. And then you can park your car and then walk around. That's fine. It's not as if Galway is very big. You can walk around. If you go easy, in an afternoon, you're done. Now, this is why people don't like it. And there are reasons why Galway, it is what it is. Basically, it's the victim of its own success. It's so cute that people want to come, and everyone who has experienced Galway will say, oh, I like it. It's really nice. It's cute. But then people who live there are not really that way inclined because they've said it's just got so expensive that people can't afford to live in Galway and they have to move away. All right. There are a lot of reasons for that. And one of the reasons is that housing, high density housing is not something you see in Galway. Yeah. And so they don't have a lot of flats, high-rise buildings where you can put a lot of people. They don't have that. You've got individual houses, And another thing that is quite surprising in Ireland, when you move away from places like Dublin, what you see is that there are a lot of big houses. I mean, like massive houses. We stayed at Airbnb. Yes, yeah, it's called not Airbnb. What's it called? Bed and breakfast. And it was. You have people with this massive house, and the children are gone. So mostly couple in their 50s or 60s, and they've converted it into bed and breakfast. So you go there. And you get your room, you've got a heating, and then you've got the shared bathroom, and then they give you breakfast in the morning. They help you find your way around where you should go. Nice place to go. Go there. They're the Irish hospitality. People are generally very friendly. Every now and then you see an idiot, but it's just one of those things. Anyway, so it's just that people there are not enough hotels and there are not enough high density in the area. So it means anyone working or looking for work and you work there, it becomes very difficult to find a house. The probably the closest you'll get to that is probably a room. So you get a room, and with that room you're able to, I don't know, you rent a room in someone's house, and if they're good enough, well, you don't really have an option, really, if that's the case. So that is a big problem, and some people have said it is even more expensive than places like Manchester and London in some cases. But the interesting thing is that London has a lot of hotels and bed and breakfast and all these other places you could house yourself when you're visiting, and London is so big that most people would probably spend 2-3 days, if not more, depending on what you plan to do. So when you go to Galway, where you can visit in one afternoon, what most important thing is to see, people don't understand why it could be so expensive anyway. And another thing why people are complaining is that if the rent, you don't have enough housing, high density, you're not well paid enough to be able to buy your own house. I mean, look at the price of some of those houses. I'm not saying everything is expensive, but then it means in Galway City, if you're seeing prices almost matching Paris, which has a massive population, you're seeing prices matching what you see in London, central London, that is. So it just doesn't make sense. So when you see that, the cost of living makes it very difficult for people to just want to, no matter how cute that place is, if you can't afford it, so what's the point? And that is why, that's one of the big problems you have in Galway. Now, people have said, well, but it's safe, it's cute, it's got this really nice laid-back vibe. Another thing that contributes to it is that anytime they have like events, horse racing or Easter holidays and all the things, it means that a lot more people come in, probably staying overnight, and Galway City, I don't know if you can call it the town or city, is already packed with more visitors. And then, of course, you need to probably stay at Airbnb, bread and breakfast that are further away. And those ones, of course, picked up on that, oh, excuse me, we seem to be getting more traffic now. Let's bump up the price. You see the problem? And then it just becomes unbearable. And then it says that a stark cost difference was noted, for example, in Galway, with Ireland charging $850 per month for childcare, and in Germany compared to 195 euros. So you go from 850 in Ireland to 195 in Germany. It doesn't make sense. But then on the other hand, it does make sense. Think about it. If you have a house, an apartment that you're converting, or a structure that you're converting to childcare, and then you have a lot of children, you can, because it would take maybe 2 employees to take care of 10 children, and the more students you have, it means you could lower your price. But then, if you can't do that because you don't have enough people, then it means you need to raise the price to cover the cost. And that's what's happening, that sometimes you would expect bigger cities, bigger than Galway, to be more expensive. But then Galway's like, hold my Guinness, we're going to charge you more. It's not funny. And the same thing, it says, like, in some cases, living in Berlin is cheaper than living in Galway. It just, or in Manchester or other cities. It just really blows your mind when you think about that. But anyway, you could see how Galway is becoming a victim of its own success. And you would think that because of that, the local government would want to invest in more high density housing in the area. But you have another problem you deal with, and you see that in most cases where a lot of housing with low density housing, something called NIMBY, not in my backyard, that is such a big problem, where if the local council decide, look, we're going to build more housing, higher density so that we can house more people, increase the population, get more tax in, and then people with lower income will be able to live in the city. And then you get opposition from people with houses thinking, oh, the more high density housing you build, it's going to reduce the demand. And once you reduce demand, it means then prices of my fancy house would go down, and we don't want that. So basically selfishness. Everyone protecting his or her own interest, and that is another problem that people now have. So, someone talks about the housing crisis, where a government rented hotel rooms for local needs, where people basically couldn't afford to live there. So the government says, okay, all these hotels, we're going to rent that out. So it's just there is a lack of will to do something about it, because you have opposing interest, and of course the more money you have, the more you can dictate the rules, and that is something that the Galway is having to deal with, like all these other cities. But it's still a cute place, but it's just not worth the amount they're asking you to pay.